of yesterday, I believe. So as of yesterday, Avengers Endgame is 2 years old. That's quite hard to believe because for me it seems like it was just yesterday. And the Avengers have always been a big part of my life, whether in the comic books or on the screen and in the individual movies. Thinking about it, there are a lot of Marvel movies now, a lot more than DC, so DC needs to do some catching up, but they're absolutely smashing it. When I saw Avengers in the cinema, and I'm just going to cut to it because we all know the bit where Steve summons Mjolnir. You see it levitate off the ground, but Thanos has Stormbreaker embedded in Thor's chest almost, so it's obviously not Thor that's raising it. You think it might be, but it's not. And then it zooms past and Steve catches it. Everybody went nuts, including me. I don't think I've ever been part of such a collective emotion all at once, you know. Everybody had the same emotion. I looked to my left, people were sobbing and clapping and everybody was stood up. I looked to my right, same thing. And that's what almost broke me, was seeing how that moment had captured so many people's attention and imagination and inspired them to actually stand up and clap, and it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. It gives you such a rush because you're all on the same page. You're all feeling like you are Captain America in that moment, and witnessing that was such a great movie moment. I've, to this day, and I've been to the cinema a lot, and I've seen a lot of the same film multiple times because I'm sad. I've never witnessed anything like that, and it was absolutely amazing, and that's why Avengers Endgame is one of my favourite films of all time, because I remember that moment in the cinema. The moment itself on screen was fantastic. It was so awesome, you know. You just go, yeah, like, it's just really inspiring and thrilling and a true sense of like, he's about to kick ass, you know. But the reason why it's my favourite is because of the vibe in the cinema. It was my experience of witnessing that for the first time. It was the first time I saw it, and when he took that hammer and he started spinning it, and then he runs toward Thanos and he smashed, oh my gosh, oh no, I think he uppercuts him. Yeah, he does, he uppercuts him with the hammer. And I was just like, it was, well, I was an absolute wreck in the moment, but now I'm like, I'm still a wreck actually, I'm still a wreck. I can't get over how amazing that movie moment is. But anyway, and the bit afterwards is really funny too. When Thor goes, I knew it, but he doesn't look pissed. He looks actually really happy and relieved, because now there's two of them that can wield, you know, the hammers and the axe. And then Thor says to Cap, he's like, you can have the little one, because Stormbreaker is really cool, but we'll get to that soon. So yeah, that's why I love Avengers Endgame, and in my opinion, Chris Evans just made that character infinitely more better than in the comics. He gave him substance, and he gave him a bit more of depth and personality, I think, because in the comics he's really quite, you know, he's really patriotic obviously, but he's very righteous and, you know, justice. But in the films, especially Captain America Civil War, he has some quite interesting opinions there, and this is quite controversial, but I watched that the other day, Civil War, and I didn't know who I agreed with. I really just, because I think Iron Man and Captain America, pros and cons to their arguments, and in the end I couldn't weigh it up. I agree with both of them, and I also disagree with both of them, so I can't decide, and I really wanted to be on Cap's side. I actually thought that Captain America might take the stance that Tony took, because Tony, he's very stubborn, but so's Cap, but Tony's very stubborn, and you'd think he would go more against authority, do you know what I mean? Because when Cap was in the army and serving, he did obey orders, you know, he fell in line relatively, and he was quite rebellious in Civil War. But I love that film as well, and he's got a lot of loyalty to Bucky, which takes us on to the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And I won't say too much because there may be some that haven't seen it yet, but I was really surprised at how well their dynamic was. But then, if we go back to Civil War, if you remember when they're both in the car, and Sam sat in the front and Bucky sat directly behind him, and then Bucky says to Sam, "Can you move your seat up?" And Sam just goes, "No." And it's such a simple line, and it's a simple thing, but they acted it so well. And then they both see Cap kiss Sharon Carter, and then they both go, and it's a very collective emotion. And I feel like that might have been what sparked the series all these years later, because Civil War came out a long time before Endgame, obviously, so they might have been cooking this for a while. But nonetheless, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier did make me cry, especially at the end. There were so many emotions, you know. I'm not going to say which cry it was, but it was a very emotional, strong cry, and it's very beautiful, and there's quite a lot of relevant opinions, and they address a lot of relevant issues that is in that series, and that's why it really hits home, I think, because I just know so many people can relate, and there'll be so many people looking up to Sam the Falcon because of his side of things, and I'm so glad, because I think he's a great role model for young people as well, just like Cap was for me, and Spider-Man, and you know, all these characters really. He played it absolutely amazingly well, and he should be very proud of himself. Going back to Steve wielding Mjolnir, in Age of Ultron, there is a moment, and you guys may have remembered it, there's a moment where Steve, so they're all sat round a glass table, and Mjolnir's in the centre of it, and Thor is standing as smug as you like, you know, he's standing like, you know, he who is worthy of the power, whatever, shall lift the hammer, whatever the Hawkeye said, I can't remember the line exactly. I think he said, "He who worthy shall have of the power." Yeah, and then he's like, "Oh, whatever, man, it's a trick, it's a trick." And so they all have a go at lifting it, and Tony, oh, it's really funny actually, because I think they're a little bit drunk, and Tony puts his Iron Man gauntlet on, and he has thrusters in the elbow, and even he can't lift it because obviously he's not worthy. But in the end, for what he did in Endgame, I bet he could have lifted it after that. I would love to know, but I bet he could have lifted it after doing what he did. Obviously, because of the nature of what he did, he sacrificed himself. He can't because he's gone. But I bet he could have. Spirit Tony could lift the hammer. Anyway, Steve goes to pick up the hammer, and it's like centimeters. He can do it. The centimeters of the table, and Thor's like, and he's, you know, shocked. And then Steve goes, "Ah, no, I can't lift it," kind of thing. And Thor's like, "Oh, phew." But the directors have confirmed that Steve has always is a great series and it really surprised me. So definitely check that out if you've not seen it. But back to Captain America. Cap has an extremely fast metabolism due to the serums that were injected into his body, and so he can't get drunk. And I don't know if I'd like that. I guess I wouldn't probably care if I had all those, abilities, and I could jump really high, and I could withstand a lot of pain and damage, and I could probably throw a school bus. I would love to throw a school, obviously with no children in it, but you see on a lot of films, I don't know, superhero films, I don't know why they do this, but they always pick up a school bus and throw it, or the enemy throws it, or there's a school bus dangling off a bridge, like the Brooklyn Bridge, and Spider-Man goes to save it, There's always a bus involved, and I think because of that I've always thought, I'd love to either catch a bus or throw it. Obviously with nobody in it. But yeah, one of my favourite moments from the Captain America series of movies is when little Steve, bless him, in the training, a grenade is rolled across the ground where everyone's standing in the training camps, where they're doing drills, army drills and things, and everybody bolts away, but Steve goes and jumps on the grenade, and he's like, get away, and he's shaking like a little leaf, bless him. Oh god, it gets me. And he's curled around this thing, and it was a test to see who would go for it, because it takes a lot of bravery and selflessness to be the one to sacrifice yourself for everyone else to live, But if you look in the corner costume. This wasn't this costume though. Back then it was, I'd made the Winter Soldier costume, which I have photos of still, I believe. But I made that entire costume head to toe, and I took it out for the first time, and I stood in the middle of the road with this costume on, and I turned around, and there was like 3 cars and like 2 cyclists, and I was like, why are you here? It's a public road. But I jumped behind the car to get out the way, and I fell in a ditch. And I was like, Captain America would never do this. He would have handled it with grace and dignity. But then I had like mud all over my bum, and I was like, so I didn't feel very cool after that. But actually it made the photos look quite authentic because I had mud on me. And that's cosplay for you. It's not as glamorous as people think it is. Quite often like I say, the costumes can be quite uncomfortable. So with this costume, for example, it's kind of a good thing but also not. So I'm quite passionate about weightlifting. I'm nowhere near like Conor McGregor or anyone like that by any means, but I do it pretty much every evening. I've been doing it every evening since I can remember, really, and just lately I've been upping my calorie intake, or trying to anyway, and I've put on quite a bit of muscle, and I actually am struggling with my sleeves and the shoulders in this costume. I'm worried that if I move my arms too much too quick, I might rip the back. So the irony is, I've gained a little bit of muscle, to try and be strong and healthy. But in doing that, I almost can't fit into my Captain America costume. I think I've maybe stolen some traits from certain characters, but it's because when I was growing up, you know, I didn't have a lot of friends or anything like that, so all I had was these characters really, and that's all I ever really knew, and I didn't have any outside influence. So, well, I probably did. It's impossible to have none, but pretty much I probably got the least amount of outside influence as most people did, you know. And so I like to think I'm a little bit of a incarnation of multiple of my favourite characters, but at the same time I'm definitely still me. I've always had quite a strong character, but yeah, I'd love to know who you guys look up to and who you value and who you maybe take inspiration from in your daily life or just in general, or when you're faced with a tricky situation, who is the person where you say, what would so-and-so do right now? I think regardless though, you have to trust yourself and your own instincts, and sometimes what you would do and who you are is the best thing. But it is nice to dress up as these characters for a day, you know, and just be in their shoes for a little bit. Having said that though, it's not like I could lift a bus even if I put the suit on. But although, so I dressed up as Captain Jack Sparrow once, and to me it was one of the most accomplished cosplays because I never do this, but I did actually act as him as well, and I did, you know, his hand movements sort of thing, and all his rings, and you know, his kind of gone out look, and I did all the beard and everything. It was kind of a joke, but I actually ended up being quite good. But anyway, and I actually really embodied his character. That's the only time I've ever done it. I'm usually myself when I dress up. This is before I started YouTube, by the way, because obviously I've tried to embody the characters I've done, but this was before YouTube, and that was the first time I'd ever done it, so I'm trying to get better at it. But again, I hope you enjoy these videos, and thank you so much for watching and being there for me and caring and giving me your suggestions as well. You guys are a great comfort to me actually, and reading all your messages puts the biggest smile on my face, and it's so nice to be part of a community that's so accepting, and you know, we all like the same things, and if we don't, you watch them anyway, even if you don't like a character I've done. I noticed a few of you have said, oh, I don't know that or haven't actually seen that, but I like the video anyway. Thank you so much. That really means a lot to me, because you know, not everyone can like everything that you like, or you know, vice versa, but it means a lot that you take interest anyway. But a lot of you that come regularly do like at least one of them, or can associate with one of the videos, and you know that you've played the game or you watched the film.